On this episode of my so-called podcast, we'll be taking you right on back to the week of September 1st, 1996.
That's right. We're going to discuss the album Bilingual by the Pet Shop Boys and the movie Bound by the Wachowskis.
Like the past. The movie never changes. It can't change, but every time you see it, it seems different because you're different. You see different things.
Welcome to my so-called podcast. I am Gary Linton. Eric, are you there?
I was going on and on, Gary, on mute. You know, Zoom.
Yes.
Who can figure it out these days?
I don't know. So, okay, I am Gary Linton.
And I'm Eric Spiegel.
Yes, and this is my so-called podcast, a podcast where we go back to a week in the 90s and we talk about a movie and an album that were released within a week of each other, usually is what we go for. Eric, what are we talking about this week?
Well, Gary, I'm glad that you asked now that my microphone is on. And the things that we are talking about are the Pet Shop Boys album Bilingual, which, if I'm not mistaken, was released in the UK, which is the primary audience for Pet Shop Boys albums for the most part.
They're global. The Pet Shop Boys are global.
They're associated with the second British invasion of the 1980s, Gary.
Okay.
So they're global.
That's right.
But they're from the UK.
Yeah, that's right. And this was released September 2nd, 1996.
Released there in the UK, yeah. And at the same time, Venice Film Festival, you go up over to the mainland, Gary, from the UK. And you head over kind of sort of into Germany, down through Switzerland. Now you're in Italy, right?
Yep.
You're going to turn left. You're going to find a city. It's going to sound like I'm making this up.
Okay.
This city does not have streets.
What?
It does have rivers.
You're pulling my leg.
Instead of streets. It's like a level in a video game.
You're making this up.
I am not. You can't make up Venezia, the film festival that the Wachowskis brought Bound to, which I think is actually fascinating. I do want to come back to the fact that it was playing at Venice when we talk about the movie because, well, first of all, I just want to, before we start talking about anything, I do think it's a little weird that we don't have anybody on the LGBTQ spectrum or a woman to talk about Bound.
Yes.
I'm going to throw that out there.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. So.
Well, right, but we are trying to. We're both allies. We're celebrating Pride Month this week. We'll talk about it. So that's why we chose Bound, made by the Wachowskis, and we'll talk about that second half. And then the lead singer, Neil. What's his name? I had his name. Sorry, Neil Tennant. Lead singer of the Pet Shop Boys has come out as a gay man. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we are sort of exploring that space. I think probably the next move for us would be probably to have some, more representation on the show if possible.
What are we, Target? No, thank you. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to.
We want to get as many viewpoints as we can on my so-called podcast, especially when we're looking at these pop culture artifacts that are really kind of, in some ways, the Pet Shop Boys, I feel like at this point we're an institution kind of going through the motions, but Bound was sort of an edgy film at the time, at least somewhat edgy as far as the sexuality on display, and so I feel like it's you have to think about how you responded to at the time in a way, and then also what does it sort of say about men, women, and the mainstream's kind of view of things. But we'll get to that in the second half, Gary. Sorry about that, but I sort of wanted to throw that disclaimer out there that we want as many voices as we can. It's like not like we have a guest every week. You know what I'm talking about?
That's right. I know what you're talking about. So, okay. So we'll move on. We usually like to set the stage by getting everybody into the 1996 frame of mind. And we used to do trivia questions. We've gotten a little tired of that, and we're trying something new on the podcast. So it's a game that we are dubbing Total Recall, and what are the rules again, Eric?
Well, Kiri, I mean, I feel like the weird thing is that you're acting like everybody listening wasn't listening last week or the last episode to, I mean, I want to say probably one of the greatest segment introductions of all time.
Yes, yeah. I'm sure. I think our guest, Scott Reichel, even...
With the beginning of its own theme song, which I feel like segments need a theme song if you really mean it. Jerry Goldsmith, take us home. It's the Total Recall end credits. Was it a dream? Was it an implant? Did it happen? Is he a hero? Does anything mean anything? Total Recall. It's still a blast, and the game is named in honor of...
I think when you play that, you just make sure that we're not going to be able to make any money off of this podcast because that is not fair use with you using it as a theme. I mean, we get fair use when we talk about we're kind of skating the line where it's like, well, we're critiquing it, so that's fair use. But when you use it to introduce a segment, I don't think that's any fair use at all.
All right, well, let's talk about this legal matter off air. How the sausage is not made. You might be right. We might have to come up with a different theme song or call it something else or something. You're right. Sorry. I mean, I guess I am name dropping Verhoeven and Jerry Goldsmith. Like, I love those guys.
I know you do. But you know what? It's not like we have to worry about that. It's who cares if they take us off the air.
Mm-hmm.
We'll publish from I don't know, Sweden.
Yeah, well, hopefully you can just cut the theme song, and I'll come up with a different theme song you can insert in these two episodes.
I've already published the other one.
Well, yeah, but then you'll replace it. And
I see what you said.
The
yes,
lost episode, right, is on your hard drive.
That's right.
It has the copyrighted material, but then it's going to have the new song, which is going to become a sensation in its own right. That's how we're going to become rich, ironically.
I gotcha.
The song that I'm going to come up with.
Okay.
Anyway, it is called Total Recall. Gary, the game is simple. It is a categories game. The way it works is categories and total recall. So I will say a category, you'll say something from that category. I'll say what you said and add something. You'll say what I said and what you said before and add something, and et cetera, until somebody gets something wrong.
Gotcha.
And the person who gets it wrong, I think, I don't remember what we said. How the points worked last time.
Yeah, I think you just get a point for, we'll just...
Every time that happens. And it's like 15 to 12 you.
Yes.
Point. And does that make sense, Gary? I mean, I could say the rules a little bit more smoothly, but the category and the playing of the game will make more sense to the listener than me trying to explain it again. So let's go for it.
Okay.
The category this time is cool 90s movies that are subtitled, not in English, that you enjoy. That's all. You're the arbiter of that.
Yeah.
And this is in honor of Bilingual, not Bound, which is in English.
Yeah, but it's in the 90s.
True. It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely, it's speaking the language of...
love.
Yeah. Low budget love. Low budget, low one set love.
That's what 2 sets. Or 2 apartments.
2 sets. Yeah, but anyway, so I guess I'll go first and say, tie me up, tie me down.
Okay. Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down. Farewell, My Concubine. I'll stay in the region.
Oh, okay. Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, Farewell, My Concubine. Oh, I don't think I'm going to be good at this today. Il Postino, The Postman.
Yes. Okay. Then it'll do Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, Farewell, My Concubine, Il Postino. I don't know if A Beautiful Life was in the 90s or not. Was A Beautiful Life?
A Beautiful Mind?
No. Roberto Benigni.
Life is Beautiful.
Life is Beautiful. Oh, that's right. Well, there you go. I messed up, so you get that point, I guess.
Oh, man. Just imagine if A Beautiful Mind and Life is Beautiful intersected, and there was like all these imaginary friends, and he used them to kill the Nazis in the war.
Was Life is Beautiful in 1999, right?
I feel like you are so close there. It might actually be early. It might be like 96 or.
Oh, okay.
Like that. Like 97 maybe.
So it was
1998.
Okay. Life is Beautiful is a 1997 Italian comedy drama. Okay. Okay, so now, so you get a point there.
We stuck in a little trivia. So do we do another round?
Yeah, we'll do another round where I start it.
Okay.
Okay. So El Mariachi.
Oh, El Mariachi. And I'll say red.
El Mariachi, red, white.
El Mariachi, red, white, blue.
All right. El Mariachi, red, white, blue. I'll do Delicatessen.
El Mariachi, red, white, blue, Delicatessen, the City of Lost Children.
Yep. Okay. El Mariachi, red, white, blue, Delicatessen, City of Lost Children, Cinema Paradisimo. Oh, wait, was that in the 90s or was that in the 80s?
Oh, shoot, you might be right. It might be like 89.
I think you're, yeah.
Look it up. Meanwhile, I'll be composing.
It was 88. So you get 2 points.
2 points for me. So that's 15-14 now.
That's right.
And I think that's enough. That's enough of that.
Yeah, I like that. Yep.
It seems like, maybe if one of them was a lot shorter, we do a third one, but let's just do it by listenability.
Yep.
I hope you guys, we're open to feedback, listeners.
That's right. You know what? Let's see. I was thinking, you know what I should have done? Like Water for Chocolate. Dang it.
I was going to do Double Life of Veronique to piggyback off the
Oh, yeah. Oh, Run Lola Run. We done Run Lola Run.
Yeah. And, I mean, there's
America's not the only country that makes movies. There are plenty of good movies made in other countries.
Well, I mean, yes, but I think the problem is that it's like too wide. It's like too wide in that. Like, we could probably do it if we were doing like French movies. There was like a Cyrano de Bergerac that was good in the 90s that was in France. Oh, Voir les enfants. Oh, no, that's the 80s.
Yeah, I see.
Damage? Does that count?
No. But, okay. Yeah, so now we'll move on to our discussion about, now that everybody's like, oh yeah, bilingual 1990s movies, I'm such in the mood to talk about the album Bilingual by the Pet Shop Boys. So
my question to you on that is, this album, do you feel like it's putting us in the 1996 vibes enough, or should you tell us where you were doing in 1996, Gary?
What I was doing in 1996? Well, especially in September of August, September.
Yeah.
We were going away. We were freshmen in college. I was down in Springfield, Mo. We were, on the campus of
2 weeks in. Maybe?
Yeah, probably. Getting to know, just meeting previous My So-Called Podcast guest, the captain, Nick Degler himself.
Yeah, so, that puts me there. We're definitely in an era of going to the record store and buying a Pet Shop Boys album if you were so inclined.
That's right. But there were some other songs on the radio, too, that were out when the Pet Shop Boys released this, Eric. Were you listening to any of those songs?
Well, Gary, it's almost like you're reading my mind. If that's the way you want to look at it.
This is the 220th episode that we're doing of this, so I think I can read your mind a little bit when it comes to this.
Yeah, it's like you reached right into my brain and you were like, I'll have that, which is what I was going to tell you, which is what was on the radio at the time, right?
Yes, these were the songs on the American radio when the Pet Shop Boys released their album in the United Kingdom.
Thank you for finally saying what everybody else was too afraid to say.
It needed to be said, and I did it.
Number 10 was Give Me One Reason by Ms. Tracy Chapman.
Yes.
Number 9 is I Can't Blank Blank by Blank Kelly.
Oh, okay.
Number 8 is You're Making Me High by Toni Braxton, the queen of hit songs from the 90s that I don't really remember that well, but kind of I do.
She's the queen of that.
I mean, she in my mind, I guess she's the queen of that. That's probably unfair to Toni Braxton, right? Is that what you're saying?
That's maybe what I'm saying.
I am intensely in my own point of view right now. What do you think she's the queen of? Probably like R&B, mid-tempo dance ballads
of the 90s.
Of the 90s. Number 7, Babyface and Eric Clapton. You know what they had done? They had gotten together and they just tried to change the world.
That's right.
And they did. They changed the world. They made it into a world that had this song in it. It's called "Change the World" by Eric Clapton.
That's right. A lot of smooth claps. Snaps, yeah.
Lot of snaps. Hey, Gary, have we done Phenomenon for the podcast?
We've not, no.
Oh, man. I went on a date, I think, with my not wife to that.
Okay.
No, now I'm getting it mixed up with a different movie, which is,
Michael?
how much I remember my relationships before my wife, I guess.
Yep.
But anyway, Phenomenon is a critical movie in my past in that it reminds me exactly of how old I was when I was watching it. But also, what is that movie?
I don't know if I've ever seen Phenomenon. I think,
What's your perspective on what it might be from the outside? And I think you really need to put yourself in perspective of this movie was a tentpole summer movie in 1996.
So
they had a lot riding on Mr. Action Hero from Pulp Fiction and et cetera, et cetera.
Isn't it kind of like just like Powder again, but with Michael or John Travolta? Because doesn't he also have like some sort of special power? But yeah, he's not albino.
I mean, he does have a special power. Yes, that is part of it. But it's also sort of a low-key romantic drama.
Okay.
About a guy with a special power who sort of develops it over time. It really is less of a Powder and more of a Flowers for Algernon kind of movie.
Okay.
I mean, it's a testament to Travolta's star at the time that it was a hit movie. I'll just put it that way. Number 6, and weirdly popular Eric Clapton still at this age. Number 6, Come On Ride It, The Train by the Quad City DJs. A fun song to dance to if ever there was one, Gary.
Oh, yeah, you want to talk? I'll tell you about that. Like I said, I think I've mentioned that before, where that song played freshman year at a party, and it was like, oh, college girls, what? Because they were dancing to that song, and I was like, hello.
There's no adult supervision here.
Exactly.
Hello, everyone. It appears there is no adult supervision. Permanently, huh? Okay, here we go.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's ride that train, as it were.
Exactly. Into a new... well, I tried to pull onto the station, but the conductor said, you don't have a ticket, so threw me off the train.
See, whenever I was that age, my memory of that song is a bunch of us went up to Chicago to go to see a Cubs game, but we were, whatever, 19 or whatever we were.
Mm-hmm.
And we parked in a pre-lot and then took commuter train in. And then, like, sitting in a line, we were singing that song and doing the dance on the train as we were riding the train.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So I have memories of that age of, like, being a young adult person, but also enjoying being, like, a ludicrous person as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was that. Do you think I could say any more filler? You're going to edit most of these out, right, Gary? Filler noises that I'm making?
Yep.
Loungin' by LL Cool J is number 5.
Oh, okay.
Twisted by Keith Sweat's number 4.
He's going to make you sweat.
Till it bleeds. Number 3, Hit Me Off by New Edition.
Oh, wow. New Edition in 1996?
Yeah. I know, right? And number 2, I Love You Always Forever by Donna Lewis. Lets you know you are squarely in 1996.
That's right. I believe that was on some people's worst of songs in 1996 when we did. Yeah. And some people's best of. I don't think it was on anybody's best of.
I Love You Always Forever.
Yeah.
I wonder if number 1 was on anybody's list. Number 1 this week was by a little band called Los Del Rio.
Ooh, Macarena.
La Macarena. It was a huge, huge hit, my friend.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, it taught us how to care again. In 1996, we were all reeling from, I don't know, some Bill Clinton scandal. But then Los Del Rios came out, and we were like, oh, you know what? We can have fun with the Macarena.
Hit Me Off, Gary, is a song by American R&B group New Edition, released in July 1996 as the first single from the group's 6th studio album, Home Again.
Oh, wow.
As well as their first single in 7 years.
Yeah.
So you're right.
Yeah.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
Featuring lead vocals from all 6 New Edition members, it samples Storm King by Bob James, I Gotcha Open by Black Moon, and One Nation Under a Groove by Funkadelic.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah. Yeah, George Clinton, and it had that Funkadelic. I mean, they got sampled. Like, all of his songs got sampled. He was like, I don't need to be a hit my songs don't need to be a hit on the radio. They're just going to get sampled by other people's stuff, I think that's what he said.
The song was performed on the TV series Family Matters, also, just FYI.
And Urkel was like, did I do that? And it was like, yeah.
New Edition was like, no, we did.
Exactly. Okay, so...
That's like if they had been on The Simpsons.
That's right.
It's like if Urkel and New Edition were on The Simpsons.
What?
No, like the actor who plays Urkel is a guest along with
New Edition, okay.
on The Simpsons.
So that's happening. Okay.
I think it's a good episode. Anyway, it's not very 1996 specific, and that'll take us right on into talking about this album, right, Carrie?
That's right, Eric. This is the I think it was the 7th. Don't quote me on that. I'm not an authority. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th album by the Pet Shop Boys. It is the 10 years into their career. They had a big hit before with West End Girls. Now, Eric, either you'd prefer to listen to binaural, that has bilingual. No, not binaural.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me binaural or bilingual.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. Either you'd want to listen to Pearl Jam's binaural or Pet Shop Boys bilingual.
I mean, I'm going to answer that, but I also want to know the other question. The answer to that question is a very, very strong binaural.
Okay.
But that's kind of a softball for a Pearl Jam fan like myself. What about, what were you going to say? Would I rather listen to bilingual by the Pet Shop Boys?
So the whole bilingual Pet Shop Boys or West End Girls 12 times in a row, because there are 12 songs on the original release of bilingual.
Okay, so how? This is an important question. Just once?
No,
Or
12.
like all day long?
Oh, well, yeah. Just, I mean, so it would either be the 12 tracks on Bilingual or West End Girls 12 times back to back to back to back. You see?
Just one time.
So yeah, exactly.
Like, where am I? Is it a party? Am I at a party?
No, you're at your uncle's funeral.
Okay, my uncle's funeral. I think I'm gonna go with the Bilingual album.
Okay.
Because some of the music could be considered background music.
Well, sure. Okay. All right.
I'm just gonna go with a strategic answer, Bob.
$1.
But I think I would rather listen to Bilingual than to listen to West End Girls 12 times. Although I understand what makes that song a hit without it ever have been one of my favorite songs. Like, I always was kind of more aware of it than loving it.
Gotcha.
And then I came more around to it, like, sort of appreciating what it actually was. You know how you inject whether you like something or not into something, and then it becomes like a thing. Like, looking at it back in retrospect, it's a banger. It's a very catchy song with a lot of interesting instrumentation. But I don't want to listen to it 12 times. So
Okay,
I'd rather listen to this album. And yes, they did have a big hit with this, but we should say they've sold over more than 50 million records worldwide, and they were listed as the most successful duo in UK music history. So they're a big deal, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the big dealness did happen
In the 80s.
in the 80s, although there was a big hit on this album, Gary.
It was a big hit?
Well, I mean, let's say hit.
Okay.
The thing is that whenever you read about this, that's why I was sort of emphasizing their UK audience and particularly the UK audience. The Sia Vida A, That's the Way Life Is, was a big hit. It was got a lot of airplay in the UK,
and that's a standout track. They were right for it to. I mean, I see why it was a big hit. That was like the first one because. So, well, I don't know. I don't want to derail you, Eric. What are you gonna?
No, I was answering a question. So I think the answer to your question, Gary, is Bilingual. The album we're about to talk about, which is good because, I mean, I really didn't come prepared to talk about listening to West End Girls 12 times. And so it's really a better segue answer anyway.
Yeah, good. Okay. But, okay, so we start out with this. Track 5, Sea Vida A, That's the Way Life is a really good song because, and especially after Discoteca is just kind of, it's just kind of a beat, and I can see, it's fine, but even it goes right into single, and it's almost like I don't even know. Was that a different song? They go right into each other.
So isn't it interesting that the Pet Shop Boys and U2 had a sort of misbegotten techno album from 1996 that track 1 is called Discotheque?
Yeah, I guess that is interesting. So,
I mean, when you think of it that way, and it is sort of, I mean, but it's not that weird for the Pet Shop Boys, who have always been an electronic dance band.
Yep.
What it is they were, instead of, well, at least this is my perception of this band that had been big for a very long time, they were trying to experiment with South American language and music and stuff in order to feel sort of creatively inspired, and that's what this album is.
Okay. Well, right, and this has been 10 years into their career. Their first album came out in '86, so yeah, they were ready to change it up a little bit, I guess. or try something.
Yeah, actually, U2 was maybe 10 years, so they were 10 years older than them almost at this point. So they were more at their, this would be more their Joshua Tree,
Yeah.
if we're going to compare the two acts. But yeah, they were huge in the 80s for, electronic music, but like cool electronic music. I think they were pretty respected, at least. I would not say that as a child of 10 or 12 listening to the Pet Shop Boys, I knew that it was a gay lead singer. I don't even know if he was out at the time.
He wasn't. It wasn't until 94 that he came out.
Oh, that's actually a really fascinating angle on this that I didn't really know. That would be a really interesting story because, most people, I feel like, just decide to stay in the closet their whole career if they've decided that.
Yeah.
Or they're out from the very beginning, which seems like the best way to go these days and the easiest path. But not everybody had that path available to them, 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, obviously.
Right. Well, right. And so, yeah, it could have been something where he was out with his friends, but then nothing was official, and then so it just says Neil Tennant, who neither denied nor confirmed gay rumors throughout the 80s, came out in a 1994 interview for Attitude. And Attitude's a UK gay lifestyle magazine. So he just was saying no. It's not like he was denying it, but he wouldn't confirm it. So neither confirm nor deny. So.
Without any kind of explanation, they tell you that this was recorded 1995, 1996 in 3 different places in London, and at this one place in New York City, and at the State House of Broadcasting and Sound Recording in Moscow.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's just in there in the notes.
So, but back to what I was saying earlier, because was there more that you wanted to add about where it was recorded?
No, that was more like color commentary. You're still telling the story of the big game, so go ahead.
Well, I was just saying that, because Electricity, track 4, it's like, okay, this is a little different, and I like that, but then halfway through Electricity, they start singing Discoteca again, and I was like, oh, what, we're back to that? Come on.
Right.
And then...
this is a problem for me, because I have listened to it 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just accidentally made my screen perfect, but I think it's an accident. I'm between things, but I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
Anyway, so I think well, now I lost my train of thought. What the hell were we talking about?
Well, I was talking about how it came on with the Discoteca and Single, where basically kind of feel like the exact same song,
so
and then Electricity.
Listen to an album. What I was going to say is, when you first listen to an album, the 8 songs sometimes do run together, right?
Yep.
And then you start to notice the differences and pick apart the different songs. Whereas this album feels almost mushed together. Even on the 3rd listen, some of the songs don't stand out from one another. I feel like maybe a little on purpose.
Yeah. I kind of got that too. That's what they were going for. But then, "Say Avida A" is a song that it does stand out. It's different. It is a different vibe. And then I also and it's also still upbeat. But then it always comes as a surprise. That's kind of a slower song there. Mm-hmm. So that was that. It's Let's Take It Down, which is track 6, which is, halfway. That might be your end of side A, start of side. Yeah, that would be your end of side A. It always comes as a surprise, even though these are CDs. But
yeah, but then at that point, for me, say Columbia House accidentally sent this to you in 1996.
Okay.
And they say, don't worry about sending it back. You're not charged. It doesn't count as one of your choices.
Okay.
How often do you think you're going to listen to this album back then?
I don't think I would have listened to this one. I probably would have taken this to CD Warehouse and said, how much would you give me for Bilingual, So,
Oh goodness! And they'd be like, "Well, we can give you $6.99 in trade for a used one."
and I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, because I can tell that song is catchy. That when we're talking about track five, and especially if you like the Pet Shop Boys, because these songs are very. I think we would be remiss if we didn't note that the songs are very Pet Shop Boys, right?
Yes, they are. They're very Pet Shop Boys.
Like, it's not like you're not going to get your Pet Shop Boys fix on this album. If you're a Pet Shop Boys lover, then dive into Bilingual, because there's nothing but a warm hug here for you.
That's right.
2 stars.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I'm right there at 2 stars also. Like, it was fine. Like, yeah, I only listened to it twice. There was, like, they released this new thing where it's like, it has how many tracks on it? Did you have Spotify where it was like so many, like, further listening, right?
I just avoided that like the plague, because I was already having trouble telling the songs on this album apart from one another, especially towards the beginning of the album. Like, I don't know. I mean, whatever. I was trying to get the vibe. It's not unpleasant to have on.
No.
I'll put it that way. It does sort of actually fade into the background kind of nicely, like I was joking before, which is not a bad thing. I don't know. It's not unpleasant sounding. And particularly if you enjoy his voice,
right?
Which is like a big thing. I mean, I was playing some deep cuts for my kids the other day of Billy Corgan, like Mayonnaise. I think was the one I was playing, and I was like, man, you gotta really just accept this guy's singing voice.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it's a 27 tracks with the further listening, which are like, other singles and remixes, and it's just kind of like yeah, if you're doing that 27 tracks of Pet Shop Boys Bilingual, yeah, you're a Pet Shop Boys fan, and more power to you. But yeah, I wasn't gonna listen to that much.
I wish that we did have a legit Pet Shop Boys fan on, like to the level of like Captain Raoul's Love of Jane's Addiction or whatnot.
Yeah.
To hear like, what does a true fan think about this era,
Oh, right.
Because as you mentioned, it's not like the big hits, but it's not like they've gone away. Like, they're still making music. So I would like to hear somebody, like an insider's opinion of this particular album. I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of or anything, but they're not like they're not creating anything radically different than what they were doing in the late 80s on this album, I don't think.
No. Yeah, it's more, I mean, like you said, it's the Pet Shop Boys. And that's what they are doing. They can't break out too much, because you got Neil Tennant's a singer, and then I think it's Chris Lowe. Yeah, Chris Lowe is the organist, piano player. He's programming the music. They can only do what they can do. They're the Pet Shop Boys.
They can only do what they can do. I don't think they should do anything else.
Yeah.
In fact, I think if you're enjoying what they're rocking at this point, then you're enjoying it. I'm just sort of interested to hear who was.
Oh, I see. I gotcha.
And what group of people were into it, because I just don't think the Pet Shop Boys were on my radar in 1996.
Right.
And they definitely were on my radio when they were... I always get kind of... Don't you want me, baby?
That's Human League. Yeah, that's the Human League.
I get that song mixed up with the Pet Shop Boys' West End Girls for some reason. I mean, I think that's evident why.
I don't know. But okay.
Fuck you, Gary.
Oh. All right. Well, that's us talking about the Pet Shop Boys.
That's us talking Pet Shop Boys. That's two guys talking Pet Shop Boys on the podcast.
That's right. We're going to take a break.
And the theme is by Jerry Goldsmith.
When we come back, we're going to talk about Bound by the Wachowskis.
We're bound to talk about something.
Hey-o.
Something's gonna come along like it was made for you. part of you that you got hidden away right now. That we know ain't straight. That's never gonna be straight. It's gonna whisper in your ear. Just 3 little words. I want out.
Hi. My name's Violet. We heard you working in here, and I was just wondering if you'd like a cup of coffee.
An open invitation like Violet comes once in a lifetime. What the fuck is...
Corky, this is Caesar. Caesar Corky.
I thought fucking dark in here.
She's making an offer.
Caesar's Mafia, huh?
I need your help, Corky.
Only a fool would refuse.
It's over $2 million.
Because all money
Oh my God.
Look at this shirt.
is good money.
You're asking me to help you fuck over the mob.
I'm gonna ask you 10 times.
I want out.
Just admit it.
What? You lost it.
Welcome back to my so-called podcast. It's me. Hey, oh, hey, it's the Mafia. It's me, Eric Spiegel.
Forget about it. Yay. That's the Mafia for you.
The Mafia is represented by Joe Pantleonio, and Christopher Maloney from SVU.
That's right. I'll always remember Christopher Maloney from Wet Hot American Summer.
Well, that's true. And he was also kind enough to do the TV show as well.
That's right. Kind enough.
I mean, he got off his Law and Order high horse.
That's right.
You know, he could have said, like, oh, no, I don't do stupid sex comedies anymore.
That's right.
I always feel like when people get to the level of fame where they don't have to do stupid comedy, but they still do it because they like it, those are, like, the people I respect the most in famous situations, usually.
I see. I mean, I don't know.
I'm not saying that Christopher Maloney is the type of person I would respect the most.
Yeah.
That one should not infer that.
I don't think there's any. I don't know Christopher Maloney. So, but all right, that's the trailer for Bound that we were listening to. We're going to talk about that here in a moment. But first, I will tell you the movies that were at the box office when Bound was playing at the Venice Film Festival. So I was like, do I stay here and watch one of these movies, or do I fly to Venice and watch Bound? So,
I mean, life is full of choices, Gary.
That's right. That's what my friend Sophie told me. So, no.
Whoa. I mean, not everybody has to make choices like your friend did, dude.
Wait, they didn't make a movie about my friend Sophie. She just had to choose between pancakes and waffles. Come on.
See. Why was she telling you about that?
Because I'm a attentive friend. And so I said, tell me about your breakfast, Sophie. She said...
Oh, goodness. Well, thanks for bringing that up.
Yep.
So, what's next, Harry?
Well, again, I'm going to tell you the movies that were at the box office here in America while Bound was premiering in Venice. Number 10, She's the One. You know, she's the one that you think looks nerdy and dorky, but you take those glasses off. She's pretty beautiful.
Wait, is that She's the One, the Ed Burns one?
Oh, you're right. That's right. No, you're right. That's what that one is. She's the One. Ed Burns. Yep.
But what's the one you're thinking one? Like, she's all... be the one?
No, she's all that.
She's all that. Is there anything else she was in the 90s?
She's Gotta Have It, we were talking about earlier.
She's Gotta Have It. She's all that. She's the One. She's the One.
Hey, you know what? You know what comes from She's the One? The song Walls Bells by Tom Petty and the Heartbreaker.
That's a classic song, Gary.
Yep. Okay, that was number...
You know what? You know what's another classic song from the aughts is Tiny Spark by Brendan Benson. And I can really play that keyboard introduction now, much to your surprise, I would imagine.
Yes, I'm very surprised. Moving on. Number 9 is Emma, the Gwyneth Paltrow, right? Emma?
Oh, Gwyneth Paltrow puts up with Harvey Weinstein to make Emma.
That's right.
And it was worth it for her career, because guess what happened? Shakespeare in Love.
All right. And then number 8 is a Very Brady sequel. That was down.
We think we will visit that one on the podcast?
Well, yeah, I think someday.
I mean, I did not find the Brady Bunch movie to be a mistake for watching it. I found it to have very pleasant elements and a lot of good performances. So I guess I'd be on board for the Barry Brady sequel at some point.
Yeah, you still have the same good performances. Everybody's still top notch, all the actors. The story's a little bit, they go to Hawaii and everything. So,
irony can only take you so far.
That's right. Number 7 is Independence Day.
Independence Day. Now, I remember this one. It sounds like it might have been a patriotic movie.
That's right. Yes. America Save the World. Go on.
Do you feel like we would ride a crest of goodwill if we did indeed, like if Randy Quaid saved the world? Spoiler alert.
Yes. Yeah, I think people would be like, yeah, those Americans are okay.
I mean, that might be what we really need is an alien invasion that Randy Quaid averts, I think.
That's right.
I feel like we all need to, stop killing each other's journalists and whatnot.
Whoa, you feel like that? Oh, man.
I just feel like maybe aliens would work, right?
Right, yes. Number 6, Francis Ford Coppola's Jack.
Oh, did I just write the end of the Watchmen original series?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yep, that is. Well, you wrote the beginning of The Watchmen. That's kind of what happens at the end of The Watchmen, the book, and then we see, yep.
That's what I meant, the original comic series, the graphic novel.
Oh, right.
And also, yes, the beginning of the Dynamite new series, which I highly cannot recommend enough.
Yep.
What else was out, Gary?
Number 5 was The Island of Dr. Moreau. Previous podcast, we did that one.
Wow, Brando, man. I'll tell you what, learning more about his career, it sure is interesting what happened in the 90s to that chap. Because it was actually kind of surprising what happened in the 70s to him, being kind of a best actor / sex symbol after kind of being written off by Hollywood. But then the 90s, man, you got this Dr. Moreau fiasco. What's going on?
Right. Number 4, A Time to Kill, Matthew McConaughey.
A time to also Matthew McConaughey, Sandra Bullock, Kiefer, Samuel L. Probably a lot of people we'd recognize now. This is a big Hollywood movie.
Joel Schumacher.
Schumacher, yeah. I remember it being a good-looking movie, and if you think about it, Schumacher can't screw it up if the story's already there. But I really feel like this movie. It's just more message-driven than the other sort of adventure-y lawyer movies that were more popular, I feel like. But it just seems a little pedantic, right?
Well, this is still Grisham, though, right?
Yeah, I'm comparing it to I feel like The Firm is a more fun thriller.
Yeah, The Firm's great. Number 3, First Kid.
Whoa. Is that Katie Holmes?
No, I think that's First Daughter.
Oh, what's First Kid?
I think this is a Sinbad movie where he's like a secret service for, I don't know who the first kid is in it, but...
Oh, okay. So it's not even named after Sinbad's character.
Right.
It's in a 1996 American slapstick comedy film directed by David Mickey Evans, starring Sinbad and Brock Pierce course. It was filmed mostly in Richmond, Virginia. Budget was $15 million, box office $26 million. Kind of a little bit of a hit. Came out, I guess it made its money back at least. Yes, he's a Secret Service agent assigned by his superior to protect President Paul Davenport's rebellious 13-year-old son, Luke Davenport, after Luke's behavior causes another agent, Woods, to be replaced for mistreating Luke in front of the media cameras. Okay, we don't have to get into the weeds here.
All right.
He's a little brat. It looks like it's got Benson in it.
Oh, excellent. Robert Guillaume.
Yeah. So it's Sinbad and Benson, but then white kids.
Nice.
Which, I don't know, why can't the president's son be a black kid too, you know?
That's right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Number 2, Tin Cup with Costner getting that Yellowstone.
Yeah. I saw that with my friend Jason Persinger, I probably already said, and then we went and played golf that weekend afterwards because he was like, I'll take you to play golf.
Nice.
And so it was fun.
And then the number 1 movie that week was The Crow, City of Angels.
That's the sequel, right?
Yeah, we talked about that one too on this episode. Didn't we? No, we didn't.
No, we never talked about that sequel because I've never seen that. That has a French gentleman as the Crow, right?
Yeah, but it's directed by, you know what I think is because it was directed by the same guy that directed, what's that? City, what is that?
Dark City?
Dark City, yeah.
Is it?
I think so. But don't quote me on that if you're asking it like that.
Hang on. Now it's City of Angels. That's the one with Meg Ryan and Nicolas Cage, right? That's where the one where the Crow meets Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan, and she's like a surgeon.
Oh no, Alexander Proyas directed the original Crow and Dark City. Okay, that's where I think I was getting my. Okay.
Yeah, the director Tim Pope of The Crow, City of Angels. He's made a lot of music videos.
Okay.
And he has not a whole lot of other things. Well, anyway, so I'm not sure about this fellow Tim Pope, the director of that movie. It had Vincent Perez as the Crow. It's currently sitting at a 4.6 on the old IMDb meter. My friends who were huge The Crow, the OG Crow fans, were really very angrily disappointed in The Crow, City of Angels. I don't know if you ever saw it. I never thought much of the first Crow, so.
I enjoyed the first Crow movie, but I never saw City of Angels, no.
And you avoided it because you heard it was bad, right?
Yep.
All right. So anyway, it was interesting enough people to go make it the number 1 movie at the box office.
Yeah. It was number 1.
All right. So the Wachowskis really kind of burst onto the scene in a way that you don't see a whole lot anymore with this movie. They had made the jump to Hollywood by writing the script for the movie Assassins, which was a flop that ended up being directed by Richard Donner and rewritten by Brian Hegeland. I never saw that movie, but I don't know why that wasn't a hit with that cast and that the screenwriting people. I don't know. The Wachowskis wanted to take their name off the film, but that's still kind of a big time way to start your career. The only thing before that in Wikipedia is them writing for some comics, like horror comics for Clive Barker, it seems. So, I don't know how that happened. They dropped out of college. So it's, I think, somewhat interestingly ambiguous history. A history of sort of mysterious there of these folks. Anyway, they really made a name for themselves in a pretty smart way, I would say, because we were joking earlier before this that this is an economical production. Kind of showing what they can do with a small budget and showing that they can make it look bigger than it is, essentially.
I don't know if they succeed in making it look bigger than it actually is. We both know. But they do a good job of playing with the limited space that they have. But I don't think they make it look. I wouldn't say it makes it look bigger than it actually is. But go on.
It shows that, I mean, like it or not, it shows that they are directors, in the sense that they're using the camera itself to tell the story just as much as they are the dialogue.
Well, okay.
And I would say that they do that in a way that comes across as quite slick, given that this is like a Dino De Laurentiis kind of production, as opposed to what they did with this positive buzz from this movie is make the Matrix, which is the next thing that happens in these people's lives. So it's like their life story goes from 0 to 60. And I guess my either or is a simple one, Gary. It has a long intro, but it's simple.
Yeah.
If you saw Bound and then you read the screenplay for the Matrix, would you think they could pull it off?
Yeah. That's a very hard question to answer because you're trying to put me. I mean, I've seen the Matrix several times and they pulled it off. So did the directors of, after watching Bound, do I think it's the same directors that Bound would make the Matrix? I'm trying to figure out how the best answer.
It's a hypothetical situation wherein you've never seen the Matrix, right?
Right.
However, you've never seen it, but you have seen Bound, and then you read the screenplay for the Matrix. Or an alternative hypothetical is you watch a movie like Bound, and you read a screenplay for a movie like the Matrix, and you're like, yes, these people can do this.
Well, I mean, I guess, yeah. Bound, yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
It's a bad either or. It is, I guess, a somewhat interesting introduction to the conversation without being a good actual either or. My apologies.
That's okay. So I think, I'll go into Bound. I think Bound does show some flourishes of, there's not the special effects that the Matrix has, but there's definitely some flourishes of, camera movement and just like, what the camera is showing. So, I'm not surprised that these people went from making Bound to the Matrix. And then, I guess I'm surprised that their career after The Matrix, which is a A+ movie, has not been, not really, they've not come out with another A+ movie since, even the Matrix sequels were a little disappointing, Speed Racer a little disappointing, so I didn't even watch Cloud Atlas, so I can't speak to that one.
Honestly, if you judge everything by the Matrix, yes, I do agree that everything becomes somewhat underwhelming. But I really do think that on paper, even the Matrix didn't seem that special. It was just something you had to experience what was going on, and they really, really did some interesting things with a bigger budget. In that movie, sound design wise and cinematography wise, and obviously the, like you said, special effects and stunts and stuff. I think the element of sort of shocking violence where it seems like anybody can die, even though it's not a really dangerous movie. Like, it sort of rides that wave of not being like super dark, but it definitely is dangerous enough the bad guys could kill people. Like, that's what's happening here. Like, I don't feel like should we talk about what this movie's about before
Bound? Yeah. Let's get back into Bound. What's her name? Corky. It starts out with Corky in the elevator, but then hold the elevator, in comes Caesar and Violet.
Corky is Gina Gershon. Caesar is Joey Pantoliano, and Violet is Jennifer Tilly.
Yep.
Doing, I want to say, postmodern Monroe vamp.
Yeah, so Jennifer Tilly, it takes a little bit, and I was afraid. Bound. Okay, Gina Gershon's working in the office or in the apartment next to Jennifer Tilly and Joey Pants, but Jennifer Tilly, Violet, comes over and starts trying to seduce Corky. She succeeds. They become lovers, and then this is the short Down and Dirty, and then they decide to steal.
Okay. Can we just stop there, though, on the Down and Dirty and come back to it?
Okay.
I'm fine with this level of detail, but I just do want to pause. Okay, so this is a movie about, at this point, it's about a woman who lives with a man named Caesar, played by Joey Pants with hair. I mean, we have to say that, right?
Yes, I have to say that.
This is the very last Joey Pants hair, and we know why, because it's a total comb forward, revealed hilariously by the final shot of his dead body.
That's right.
It's not a good look for him. Neither are the cut of the suits in this era are
awfully
not
big
to anyone, including Christopher Maloney, who does have a hot butt, according to women.
Yeah.
In any case, that's who she lives with. Gina Gershon's Corky is out on parole, right? And so we know that she's a bad guy because she's been in jail. And that's the way it starts out. But then it becomes clear that also Violet and Caesar are some kind of bad guy, right?
Yeah.
And you would describe, I think if we slow down, Caesar is a low-level guy with mob ties. He runs a mob-connected business which launders money. So it's kind of a pretty low level on the mob spectrum. But he is involved, we see, in murders for the mob.
That's right. Yeah, they show that him, and they also set that up too, because the guy that Caesar ends up killing is having an affair with Violet. But this also happens after Corky and Violet have started their relationship, and so there's that little tension there where Corky's like, "Oh, look, what are you doing?" And Violet's like, "Look, I need to survive. Everyone's just trying to survive."
Yes, and that's the way that the movie positions it, is that the quote-unquote affair that Violet is having with a member of the mob, not to mention her entire relationship with Caesar, has been a version of sort of survival sex that keeps her safe and off the streets, and, you do what you have to do to survive. However, she's positioning herself as actually lustily in love with women, and in particular one woman, Corky, right?
That's right.
And what is your take? I think that this is the big selling point of the movie as being different than other movies, right? Because there's a lot of love triangle mob movies.
Yes.
So how does this work for you, Gary? There's the beginning, the seduction, the meet cute, the sex scene. All of that stuff happens. What's your take on that act of the movie, filmmaking-wise, screenplay-wise, cinema history-wise, etc.?
Well, so I guess I had seen it, so I guess I'll also say I have seen this before. This isn't my first time watching this movie. I had watched it back probably, I don't know, 96, but not too long after. And because I think I've seen it, I saw it before The Matrix even, but so Jennifer Tilly.
I mean, it was definitely a thing before The Matrix.
Yeah.
I think that when The Matrix was coming out, was vaguely aware that it was the guys who made Bound.
Yes.
The fellas, the people, the human beings who made Bound. I was vaguely aware of that. I wouldn't say that I was like, oh, my favorite movie, Bound.
Right. So to go back to Bound, though, Jennifer Tilly's acting at first is, I don't know if I needed to adjust to it, but I was like, oh, I don't think I can watch her throughout this whole movie. But yeah, I adjusted, or she adjusted, and something happened to where I was like, okay, I'm buying it. But her line readings at first were just kind of like off. I was just couldn't get into them. So, I think it's stylish enough though. And then and I know that the sex scene, I guess I remember that being kind of, I don't know if I've also become desensitized because I wasn't, an 18-year-old kid. But I was like, oh, I remember that being like more than what it was. And honestly, reading about it here, it was kind of like, oh, the Wachowskis had a hard time casting this because of the sex scene. I was like, I don't know if we really needed that at all either, because it like the nudity wasn't really needed. So I guess I would put that into as like maybe some of these movies that have these female nudity don't need it, because he probably could have shot that in a way that where we didn't need to see.
I mean, I feel like I don't even remember that there was necessarily nudity in the sex scenes, and so you must be right that like it wasn't critical to the storytelling of the sex scenes. Although I did feel like the sex scenes didn't make me really uncomfortable with how long they went on for. They definitely showed that they were into each other. I mean, this is a film noir, right? So we could definitely tell the story on Hays Code rules.
That's
just
right.
like go to the bedroom. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do, right?
Right.
I found the pre-sex scene stuff to be fairly intriguing, but I did feel like I said, Jennifer Tilly's doing a thing here, and I feel like I kind of like it. It's like a heightened reality where she's like a Marilyn Monroe figure. She's doing this voice, right? Like Marilyn did a voice, and the voice is it's a Venus flytrap in this case, right? Where she's okay killing the men that she kind of seduces with this behavior. She doesn't have to, but she will. And not only is she okay, like sort of, doing this, also, sexually interested in women. So she's like the inverse of Marilyn, right? She even has black hair instead of platinum blonde hair. And so I feel like they're doing a thing there where it's like in this movie, the femme fatale is the hero seducing a everyman, which is a woman, and then they're using sort of heightened film noir sort of dialogue to underscore that they're doing something traditional, but just who the characters' roles are what's unusual. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and that comes across, and that is an interesting take. I understand that the Wachowskis wanted to make a film noir, but then they wanted it to be more bloody and more sexy, and more violence and sex and everything like that. So it's kind of like, okay, but I don't know if it was needed. But I mean, I guess if that's your goal, that's a fine goal to have. I mean,
you're right. It's certainly a goal. Like it's almost like if a game show made you write a screenplay, sure.
Yeah.
I think that I could I don't know where that quote comes from, this wanting to add more sex and violence.
Yeah. I think
that might have been them trying to sell it.
Yeah, that could be too. You're right.
But it also might be, who knows, like them being kind of immature. But like for me, the sexual tension pre-sex scene is where it's at in this movie, and I think it delivers, to be honest. I feel like there's real sexual romantic tension in the scenes pre-sex scene between Corky and Violet, and for me, that's kind of where the money is for believing the rest of the movie and being on Team Violet and Corky for the rest of their illegal, murderous behavior, right?
Yeah, and right. So, I mean, so that's what they do. I'm gonna go ahead and say that they devise a plan.
They devise a plan to screw over the mafia.
That's right. So he gets $2 million. Joey Pants, Caesar, has $2 million of the mob money that he's cleaning up because
it's drenched in blood.
That's right.
Blood money.
And yeah, they like that, hanging all the dollars up. Think of the poor production designer that had to do all that for that little shot there too. I was like, because that was awesome.
I mean, he's literally a money launderer in that scene, and ironer, which I found to be a nice touch. Like he's got a little fastidiousness in him.
That's
he stays
right.
Up all night ironing the money.
Yeah.
So not only is that kind of cute, not taken to quote another 1996, thriller with Surprising Violence, Fargo.
Yeah.
It's not taken to the level where it's sort of like he's an endearing weirdo for ironing the money.
No, not
Like
at
in
all.
Fargo maybe would be.
Yeah. I mean, it's just something that it's just, a quirk, I guess.
I think what it is storytelling through character, right? He is a menacing foe because he's not even going to sleep, right? He's ironing the money. Like, he's just staying up and staring at it and pampering it. So it's going to be hard to pull one over on this guy is sort of the storytelling there, but it's in a funny way. I mean, also production design, right? Like, those clotheslines are going in all different directions. It's like if you heighten it even more, it could be Wes Anderson-y, right?
That's right, yeah.
But they don't quite go totally surrealism or like expressionism. I think that this movie adheres to a certain level of realism, right?
Yeah, I guess there's some realism. Yeah. I mean, well, I guess when they start devising the plan and they're cutting back and forth there, because she says, we'll do this, and then you see, right? Am I remembering that correctly? Where she says, we're going to do this, and you see them actually doing it at parts. It's almost like flash forwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we're only going to tell you this one time, audience, and it's going to be in the time that they're planning it.
That's right, yeah.
I thought that was nice, efficient storytelling. It maybe came across as more novel in 1996.
That's
I think
right.
Storytelling is all over the map now, backwards, forwards, because, and I think the influence of comic books does a little bit of that too, like, because there's no rules, there's a multiverse. And but anyway, I think this was kind of bold and edgy, and the storytelling skips out some of the dull bits, and we just kind of jump right into certain things.
Yeah.
There is a definite sexual tension and dynamic between Violet and each of the mobsters in a way that feels very much like a play to me. Caesar feels as he owns Violet, which he does in some way, which is never fully explained, but he does kind of, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the older gentleman who
Mickey.
is a brutal killer.
Mickey, yep.
The one who murders the other guy she was having a fling with, right?
Yeah, Shelley. That was Shelley.
But he's got a thing for her in a way that's sort of like protective of a little girl, it seems, but also maybe he's got a thing for her. And then you got Christopher Maloney, who's the boss's son, who basically just sexually harasses her.
That's right. And Johnny. And, right. And they use that because when, so they're going to steal this $2 million, and Gina Gershon, Corky, says, well, Joey Pants, when he finds out that the $2 million is gone, he's just going to run. But he doesn't do that. He's like, oh, I'm going to find it. We got to find out who does it. And so that's kind of the first kind of kink in the plan, that it's not going off the way they want it to. And so what they do in order to...
Because what they want is for him to be smart, but he does not do the smart thing.
No. So they got to blame, Johnny. She's like, well, what happens if, they end up saying that Christopher Maloney, he obviously came in and stole the money, and... So when they come to collect it, he thinks that was a good scene. That's
who comes to collect it is the actual mid-tier. It seems maybe mob boss, maybe a little higher.
Yeah, even higher.
Who Joey Pants is nervous to have in the house.
That's right.
But in this circumstance, who's coming over to collect the money? He's coming over to collect the money, but the situation is, where would the money be?
That's right.
Where is it?
And I think Christopher Maloney does a good job because he's like, well, we're going to open it. And he's like, go and open it. And he's like, well, where's the key? And he's like, oh, you need a key? Are we doing this? And
Yeah, I like the tension. Like, there's I would say that the dialogue and the tension of those situations are somewhat informed by Tarantino, like Reservoir Dogs kinds of situations. It's very modern in that way. The criminals, they have that duet. The criminals in this movie exist in a really weird base where they're like old-timey gangsters on the one hand, but they also sometimes behave like they're post-Tarantino, mostly in the violence department, I would say.
Oh yeah, well yeah, and that's we'll call previous violence. There's a pretty bad scene where they're torturing Shelley to find the money. They cut off his finger, and we actually see the finger hit the floor. I was like, I don't know if that was needed. I don't know if that was needed. I don't know if the sex scene was really all that needed. So, I don't know, again, if those would be made here in well, they probably would. Both of those.
I mean, if you wanted to, I think that the question is, were they doing it because they thought it was the best way to tell this story, or were they kind of doing it because it was kind of a statement? I feel like a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think there was definitely a statement.
They could obviously work within the PG-13 milieu just fine. Cloud Atlas is worth a look, my friend.
Okay, I'll look at. I'll watch it. We'll turn this off and I'll go watch it.
I mean, number one, it's got a really good score. Number two, it's got like a variety of different stories, so you're bound to like a few of them.
Okay. All right, so back to Bound, though.
Bound. This was different than Cloud Atlas.
Oh, good. Okay. So this is a part in the film is where Caesar, Joey Pants, thinks Christopher Maloney stole the money, and he's kind of freaking out. And he has the gun pulled on the mob boss.
Everybody that Corky's the one that stole the money. She has it next door, which I feel like is kind of a bad part of their plan, to be honest. Also, they get found out by a freaking telephone. Like, that was a predictable problem. Come on, think through the plan, ladies.
Well, yeah.
So I feel like the second half of the movie has a real Corky deficiency. Like, I feel like I wanted more interference from Corky, more interaction, more helping out, less sort of being on the sidelines. I don't know. Did you feel that way at all?
No, I guess I don't know. I didn't really feel it, but I can see what you're saying. Because, yeah, she's just kind of, Gina Gershon just has a couple of shots where she just has to be looking at the wall, or kind of like, oh, what's going on over there? What's on the other side of that wall? What are happening?
Yeah, exactly. And I sure do exist over here.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah. And then that was a pretty good scene too. We'll go in and I'll say. So he ends up shooting all the mob people that came to collect the money, and he has to clean up the blood because the cops are on their way. And
including Christopher Maloney, who really, I feel like that's a most Fargo moment. He just cannot believe that this guy is shooting him. Like, how dare he? He's
That's
the
right.
boss's son.
That's right.
How dare you shoot me? That's so crazy. Like, that's his reaction, which I think is actually perfect.
Right, yeah.
Like, right on, but also, like, maybe a little funnier than the rest of the movie.
Yeah, yeah. And
Like, the tone is a little weird. Like, the beginning is so, like, sexy, to be honest. Like, I feel like it's legitimately sexy, like the lead up, like I thought. If you can get, I mean, I think friend of the show, Alicia Spiegel, found that part to be boring. I found that part to be interesting. I found some of the mob stuff to just be uneven in a lot of ways. Not that there's not good stuff. There's a real almost horror aesthetic that's like wanting to come out of this movie, but they don't quite commit to that. Like, all the dead bodies in the bathtub.
And the cop is going to the bathroom, and a drop of blood falls on the floor, and then the blood on the carpet.
that almost feels like, look, we can do De Palma, we could do Hitchcock, but also it's more extreme. It just feels like a tryout in a lot of ways, I guess. But that's just, I guess, me also hindsight for me. But like that part really feels like a horror movie, right? There's a real level of terror. Also, the finger cutting off portion. But other scenes also aren't like that. And I'm not saying that genre mashups aren't wonderful. I'm looking at Bong Joon-ho, who just does whatever genre mashup he wants. But these don't seem to organically go together very well. Not like there's a big problem, but I don't know if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I can see that it is kind of like a sizzle reel for being a director's, where it's like, and so they're throwing everything at the screen and just
putting the camera being on the ceiling looking down at the situation, which is actually something that Steven Spielberg got a lot of mileage out of in the Minority Report sequence where the spiders were going.
Oh, that's right. Yep. And then following the camera follows the phone line, and there's a little twist in the phone line, so the camera's got to go around that twist, and when the phone is ringing, so.
I mean, that stuff I think is fun. I like to be reminded that I'm watching a movie, if it's going to be stylish like that, it has, in all the good ways, kind of a graphic novel kind of a feel. I guess I just kind of wanted more of that, and more Corky and Violet. Bring it on. It's a little too Joey Pants heavy in the second.
Well, right. And so, he goes and he has to clear out the, right, it kind of even jumps around too, because we even see, so the very first shot we see it's called Bound, and we see Corky tied up. That's actually the very first shot, and we get to where Violet is calling Corky, and so Joey Pants hears.
So why is it called Bound?
Well, because they're bound to end up together, and he ties them up. I don't know why else it's called Bound other than that they get tied up. They're bound,
Okay. They're bound for success.
Yep. And so Joey Pants sees her, goes over to the other apartment and, knocks Corky out.
The aforementioned phone call revelation.
Right. And she's like, well, you better tell me or I'll kill you. And then it's like, well, if you don't, that's right. He's going to cut off Violet's finger. And she's like, I hid it in paint cans. And he's like, well, now I can just kill you. She's like, well, you don't know if I'm lying or not. So
right, this is where I'm enjoying it, where Corky's sort of taunting Joey Pants because guess who is also a criminal?
That's
Corky.
right, yeah.
So this becomes some kind of enjoyable, and this for me is interesting. So if this were a guy, how would these scenes play versus it being a girl? How would these scenes play? That is all kind of interesting because they're very familiar rhythms, right? But it is actually, to me, even somewhat shocking to hear her violently kind of talk back to him in this situation, in this sort of dire situation. I don't know. It works, but she has to be put in the sort of traditional male role for the screenplay for it to work. But it's interesting that she still is, and it works. And that sort of a thing is where this gender stuff is somewhat interesting still in this movie.
Yeah. Well, and then, so...
maybe.
Right.
Maybe not.
Just to summarize, the end of the plot is that, he knocks over the paint can.
Everybody is a happy ending, right?
Well, right, but I guess let me at least talk of that scene where he knocks over the paint cans, sees the money, there's paint all over the floor, but she comes in. Oh no, Violet ends up with the gun. Is Violet the one that ends up shooting him? Because he's like, she does. Because she's like, I know you're not going to shoot me. If you wanted to shoot me, you would have shot me already, And she's like, Caesar, here, let me shoot you. And Violet ends up shooting Caesar. And you get the blood, the red.
I think her stinger line is, "You don't know shit."
Oh, right, yeah. I think that is it.
And then, see, to me, this is where thematically we are getting somewhere with the screenplay. It's about double lives or triple lives, who you really are versus who you have to pretend to be. And this true self is where the two women meet at that level. And that's their secret power within this storytelling, right? Because Caesar thinks he's got it all figured out, but obviously he does not, right? Because of, I don't know, that part of it, it works for me. I find the thing to be fine. I find it to be like a nice try. It's certainly an amazing first movie.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
It's very entertaining. It chugs along. They really have sort of a vision. It's tight. Like I said, it's efficient with the screenplay and the budget and everything. It's not clear that they have tons and tons to say, but it's like they do want to say something.
Yeah.
So it's not Blood Simple if we're comparing them to the Coen brothers, but it's Blood Simple-esque in its way of showing that they're artists that are making a sort of traditional thriller. I have Bound 3 stars, Gary.
Yes, I would also give it 3 stars. So there you go. We both came to consensus this time. We gave Bound. Both of us gave it 3 stars, and both gave Bilingual 2 stars.
So that's the Midwestern white guys, from Missouri, cis het, that our take on these movies.
These works of art.
These works of art. But we may have rubbed on each other a little bit at this point, Gary. Don't you think?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, it's not like we're going off to take classes on these movies by ourselves and then coming back and sharing these opposing views or anything.
That's right. No, we're not doing that. That's not what...
It's never shocking to me whenever we agree. It's interesting whenever we disagree. We're going to have to find something that, you totally hate that I enjoy. That'll be fun.
Okay, yeah, well, that'll be on it. We'll try to find that.
Just send me a list of things you hate from here on.
Okay, we'll do that. So, all right. Thanks for listening to another episode of My So-Called Podcast. I've been Gary Linton.
And as always, I've been Eric Spiegel.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.